Heartwarming story, teen restores private jet CEO shocked by his amazing pilot wing necklace. Jamie Thompson stood before the rusting hulk of the private jet, its once glorious wings now bent and battered, but in his mind, it soared. No ordinary teenager, Jamie was a dreamer with a fire in his chest, and that summer, he'd make that jet roar again. His grandfather's stories of war heroes and resilience echoed in his ears, igniting his spirit as fiercely as the summer sun. He had to restore that plane not just for himself but for a family that had fallen on hard times after his father's layoff. With his mother juggling 3 jobs, Jamie was determined to rise above their struggles. Every morning, Jamie arrived at the dilapidated airport. His heart raced as he brushed the dust off the cockpit, imagining the tales the aircraft held. As sweat dripped down his brow, he lost track of time. Hours would slip away while he worked with purpose and passion. The ridicule from classmates didn't bother him. They mocked his dream, but they didn't see what he saw. They didn't witness the pain in his mother's eyes or the spark in his grandfather's when he shared his own war stories of yesteryear. Then one day, as Jamie cleaned out the cockpit, his hands brushed against something cool and metallic. His heart dropped. There, veiled under a layer of grime, lay a pilot wing necklace, gleaming like a star amidst the debris. This trinket, once worn by the war hero who had flown the jet through the clouds, became a beacon of hope for Jamie. It sparked an idea, a hope that maybe, just maybe, he could make a difference not just for himself, but for everyone watching him. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the summer days stretched onward, Jamie's determination blossomed. The town began to notice. Passers-by paused to witness the boy tirelessly laboring, sweaty and covered in grease. They admired his resolve, some even helping out with supplies and bits of advice. An elderly mechanic showed up unannounced one afternoon, armed with tools and stories of his own. Jamie's heart swelled. Compassion was surging from his community, reminding him that kindness often overcomes scorn. The pivotal moment arrived as Jamie prepared for the unveiling of the restored jet. The townspeople buzzed with excitement, gathering near the airstrip. But it wasn't just excitement, there was hope, tangible hope. When the CEO of the manufacturing company arrived, skepticism shadowed his face as his gaze fell upon the unlikely restoration. Jamie stood proudly beside his labor of love, a band of supporters cheering him on. As the CEO finally examined the jet and spotted the pilot wing necklace, a silence enveloped the crowd. Suddenly, the air was thick with realization. This wasn't just a teenager's dream, this was a symbol of grit overcoming the obstacles of wealth and privilege. But with the crowd's eyes glued on Jamie, an undercurrent of discontent swirled. Whispers crept through the spectators. Did this young dreamer really deserve the recognition he was about to receive? As Jamie stood there, the moment teetered between triumph and adversity, leaving everyone, including him, to wonder if this was just the beginning or an end fraught with new challenges waiting in the shadows. Would this revelation shatter illusions or unite his town? The stillness was broken when a voice in the crowd called out, "What does it matter? He's just a kid." The words sliced through the air. Jamie's heart thudded in his chest. He felt their eyes shift, some filled with envy, others with hope, but all were questioning. The CEO's expression softened as he turned to the crowd. "I want to hear from Jamie," he said, his voice steady, but the skepticism lingered. The murmurs faded into a tense silence, and all eyes turned to Jamie, who felt the weight of their expectations pressing down. He took a breath, the moments pierced with emotion. "I restored this jet because I believed in its history, just like my grandfather believed in people," he began, his voice trembling. "When I found this necklace, it inspired me to restore hope not just in this plane but in our town, in all of us. A few faces softened. Someone from the back shouted, "We believe in you, Jamie." Cheers erupted momentarily, and Jamie allowed himself a small smile. But the CEO raised his hand, quieting the crowd. "That's a noble gesture, Jamie. But what does it mean when dreams clash with reality? Can you really fly this jet?" Jamie squared his shoulders. "With hard work, anything is possible." The enthusiasm in his voice surprised even him. "I've put my heart and soul into this, investing my time and hope back into the community. If it can fly again, then it could inspire others to believe in their dreams too." His words hung in the air, a bridge between doubt and possibility. But shadows of discontent still simmered in the crowd. Some were moved, while others whispered to one another, unsure if they should applaud or push back. A young girl near the front tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Mom, can he really do it?" she asked, innocence shining in her eyes. Her mother looked down, hesitating before answering. "He has to try, sweetie." As Jamie scanned the crowd, he locked eyes with an older couple who wore smiles, pride sparkling amidst chaos. They had been some of the first to cheer him on. In them, Jamie found the fuel to keep going. They believed in him. The CEO stepped closer, drawn in by Jamie's unwavering spirit. "You faced the criticism with bravery, Jamie. There's something admirable about that. You know, the company is looking for new talent, fresh ideas. You may have just sparked that." The crowd stirred with interest. Could this young boy lead them into a new chapter? But amidst the excitement, Jamie sensed a fracture. "Thank you," he exclaimed, letting hope bubble over. "But I can't do this alone. Let's restore our community together." The claps and cheers rattled against the old jet. Mixes of uncertainty and support encased the air, but as Jamie glanced toward the sky, he couldn't shake the feeling that storms loomed ahead. Would he truly have the strength to lift off not only the jet but his community along with him? Just as he felt the tide of encouragement swell, a shadow crossed over him, a figure emerging from the back of the crowd. Jamie squinted, sensing a shift, like the calm before a storm. Who could it be? What would they say? Would they bring doubt or fuel his fire even further? The moment was heavy, hanging on the cusp of something big, something that could change everything. Jamie stood tall, determined, knowing that whatever it was, he had to be ready to face it head-on. A figure stepped into the fading sunlight, and Jamie's heart raced. It was a tall man with a weathered face, someone he recognized from the town, a former pilot named Mr. Dawson. He had once been a hero, a legend in their small community. But in recent years, his light seemed to dim, he had lost his job and his passion along the way. The crowd parted, whispers flaring again, uncertainty growing palpable. The tension was thick as Mr. Dawson approached the makeshift podium, his eyes locked on Jamie. The old pilot looked different somehow, a blend of pride and pain etched into his features. When he spoke, his voice was a low rumble, tinged with motion. "Jamie, my boy," he said, "I know you've got big dreams. I see that spark, and I want you to keep it. But there's more to flying than wishful thinking." Jamie felt his stomach twist. Was Mr. Dawson here to crush his hopes? He bit his lip, bracing himself. "I understand, Mr. Dawson. But what if those challenges are just steps towards something greater? What if we can make a difference?" Mr. Dawson's gaze softened, but the lines of doubt still creased his forehead. "It's not just the plane, kid. It's the knowledge, the dedication. To really fly, you need training and experience. It's hard, and it's dangerous." A wave of frustration washed over Jamie. Hadn't he just shown them it was possible? "But I can learn," he shouted back, the hope in him clashing with the reality of his words. He couldn't help but feel small under the weight of it all. So many of us have forgotten what it means to strive. I want to bring that back. With that, the crowd shifted. Jamie sensed it, the change in energy. Some faces glimmered with inspiration, while others still wore the weight of skepticism. Yet Jamie pushed forward, shaking off the disappointment. "Mr. Dawson, if you could guide me, show me what it takes, I promise to work harder than anyone. Together, we can lift off, not just this jet but our whole community." Jamie could see the flickers of recognition sparking in Mr. Dawson's eyes. For a moment, it seemed he was torn between doubt and longing, as if simply hearing Jamie's passion breathed life back into his own dreams. Then Mr. Dawson took a breath, the tension fading slightly, a gentle smile breaking through. "You remind me of how I once felt." "All right, Jamie," he said, his voice firming up. "If you're really willing to learn, I'll help. But it'll take grit and sacrifices you can't even imagine." The cheers erupted once more, more fervent and aware now, with the crowd rallying behind this unexpected twist. Jamie felt a flush of relief wash over him, knowing that together they could start building something. As the afternoon light faded, Jamie looked up into the sky, feeling more alive than ever. But he knew this was only the beginning. What came next? Would he really have the strength to endure the hardships ahead, especially now that an experienced hand was stepping back into the room? A new resolve swelled within him. But as excitement fluttered, the shadows of doubt loomed still, wrapping around his heart like an unwelcome companion. He was stepping into uncharted air, the flight path ahead uncertain. The moment had arrived, but with a heart full of hope and a solid ally beside him, he was ready to embrace whatever awaited. Would the winds that had once grounded him now lift him higher than he ever dared to dream? The next day, the sun rose with a brilliant glow, lighting up the sky in vibrant hues of orange and pink. Jamie woke up with the early light streaming through his window, filling him with energy. Today was a fresh start. Today, he would begin his training with Mr. Dawson. With every heartbeat, Jamie's excitement grew. He slipped out of bed and threw on his well-worn sneakers. The moment he stepped outside, he inhaled deeply, taking in the crisp morning air. It felt alive, crackling with possibility. The familiar sounds of the town birds chirping, children laughing encouraged him as he made his way down to the small airport. As Jamie approached the dilapidated hangar that housed the weathered jet, he spotted Mr. Dawson, sipping coffee and studying the aircraft's surface. Jamie's heart raced at the sight. The old pilot looked more engaged than he had in years, a sense of purpose radiating from him. "Good morning, Jamie." Mr. Dawson called, his voice rich with warmth. "Ready to get your hands dirty?" Jamie grinned, the joy bubbling in his chest. "More than ready." Mr. Dawson handed him a set of worn tools, their handles smooth from years of use. "Today, we start with the basics. You'll learn about this aircraft, inside and out. Once you understand the mechanics, you'll appreciate the flying even more." The hours ticked by as Jamie learned about the jet's components. He listened intently while Mr. Dawson shared anecdotes from his flying days, stories of turbulent weather and thrilling landings. With every word, Jamie felt the thrill of the sky tugging at his spirit. He longed to experience those moments, to soar above the mundane and touch the clouds. "Why did you stop flying, Mr. Dawson?" Jamie asked, curiosity getting the better of him. The old man paused, the weariness creeping back into his features. "Sometimes, life takes us in different directions. It's not easy to face loss, but we have to keep going." Jamie felt a pang of empathy. He understood the weight of dreams unfulfilled. But what if we could fly again? Together? Mr. Dawson chuckled softly, his eyes lighting up with a spark of what looked like hope. "Well, you've got the spirit for it, I'll give you that. If anyone else got a chance to lift this community back up, it's you." As they worked side by side, something shifted in the air around them. The quiet determination that began between them felt contagious, reaching others nearby. A few townsfolk wandered over, intrigued by the sounds of clinking tools and laughter. Soon, a small crowd began gathering, eyes turned towards the jet, absorbing the possibility unfolding before them. There was joy in their shared dreams, a bond forming on that tarmac. As the sun climbed higher, casting warmth over the scene, Jamie realized they were all part of something greater, a community that needed each other's hope. But doubt lingered just beneath the surface. Would he truly be able to learn fast enough? And what if the challenges they faced to restore the jet were more difficult than he imagined? As the day ended, Jamie stood before the jet, shining under the golden glow of the sunset. He could almost hear its call, beckoning him to fly. Mr. Dawson stood beside him, a proud figure once more, hinting at endless possibilities. "Tomorrow," Mr. Dawson said, his voice steadier now, "we begin to test those dreams. Are you ready to face what lies ahead?" Jamie looked into the fading light, a fire igniting inside him that filled him with courage. "I'm ready for anything," he replied. But as he turned to leave, a sudden rustling from the crowd caught his attention. Something unusual was happening. A figure darted through the gathering, and a gasp rippled through the crowd. Jamie's heart skipped. What could it be? The mysteries of the sky were calling him again, but now, something unexpected awaited at the edge of his newfound dream. A hush fell over the crowd as the figure darted quickly past, almost a blur of motion. Jamie squinted, trying to discern who or what it was. Faintly, he could hear whispers ripple among the townsfolk. "Is that?" One woman gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. The voice of Mr. Dawson cut through the tension. "Jamie, stay close." He took a step forward, his brow furrowed with concern. Just then, the figure paused. It was a girl, an older girl, with wild curls spilling out from under a bright red baseball cap. She looked breathless and determined, her eyes darting toward the jet before locking on Jamie. "Is this the jet you're trying to fix?" she asked, hope sparkling in her gaze. Jamie nodded, caught slightly off guard. Yeah. I'm Jamie." "Great. I'm Mia." She took a deep breath, brushing her curls out of her face. "I heard you were doing something amazing with the old bird. I want to help." The energy shifted again. Murmurs of interest replaced the earlier surprise. "You really think you can help?" Mr. Dawson asked, skepticism evident yet softened by curiosity. "Absolutely. I used to fly with my dad." "Well, until she faltered, her enthusiasm dampened. But then she straightened, determination setting her stance. "I know how to fix things. I've been collecting parts for projects like this for years." A spark ignited in Jamie. This was the sort of ally they needed, someone who understood the dream of flight and wasn't afraid to get her hands dirty. "Would you really? We could use all the help we can get." Mia grinned widely, a contagious brightness spreading through the group. "I've got tools, ideas, and a ton of enthusiasm. And you're right, sometimes it takes a community to rally around something we all cherish." As the crowd began to chatter, Jamie felt a profound sense of hope welling within him. It was more than just him and Mr. Dawson now, it was the start of something bigger, a collective dream they all shared. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows that danced between them. Jamie turned to Mr. Dawson, who was gazing at Mia with an approving smile. "Looks like you have Em on your side, Jamie," he said, his voice filled with warmth. "Now, let us see what we can do together." They began discussing their plans, laughter and ideas blending into a harmonious melody. It was incredible how quickly they came together as a team, sharing stories, small tasks, learning from one another. For the first time in a long while, Jamie felt the weight of doubt lift. But amid the excitement, a flicker of uncertainty remained. Would bringing Mia into the fold complicate things? And what if the past that haunted her led her away from the project? Just as the sun disappeared completely, a cool breeze swept across the tarmac, sending a chill down Jamie's spine. "Mia," he said cautiously, "you mentioned your dad. Is it okay to talk about him?" The group fell quiet, sensing the seriousness of the moment. Mia's face softened, the cheeky sparkle dimming momentarily. "I'd like that," she replied. I think he'd want me to keep flying in some way, even if it's just helping you guys get this jet back in the air. Jamie's heart raced. He could feel the weight of her words, how they tied him and his newfound friends together in those moments of shared pain and healing. Let us do this, Jamie said, masterfully pulling himself together. Together, let us make some dreams take flight. But just as hope surged forth, a distant roar echoed through the air, pulling everyone's gaze skyward. A plane zoomed overhead, and for a second, time stood still. Questions blossomed uninvited in Jamie's mind: who was flying? Where were they headed? As the sound faded into the distance, a new tension hung in the air. The jet before them seemed to sway gently in the breeze, a reminder of their aspirations grounded in reality. What if they weren't the only ones concerned about the jet? What secrets lay ahead? Tomorrow, new challenges awaited and the answers could change everything. Would they be able to rise above? The morning sun broke through the clouds, casting a golden glow over the tarmac. Jamie woke with a renewed sense of purpose. He jumped out of bed, heart racing at the thought of the day ahead. Today was the day they would start working on the jet. Mia, with her infectious energy, would be there. He felt excitement swirling in him like a whirlwind. Breakfast was a blur of half-eaten toast and nervous chatter. Jamie barely heard his mom's voice as she asked about his plans. All that mattered was the jet restoring it to its former glory. As he finished up, he caught a glimpse of himself in the mirror. For the first time in ages, he looked hopeful. Would they actually pull this off? When he arrived at the hangar, Jamie was surprised by the crowd that had gathered. Neighbors and friends, drawn by the dream of flight, had come to lend a hand. Mr. Dawson was already talking with a group, gesturing excitedly toward the jet. Jamie stepped closer, feeling a rush of gratitude. Mia! He called out. She was leaning over a toolbox, rifling through tools with a fierce determination. When she looked up, a smile split her face, instantly brightening the space around them. Ready to do some magic? She said, her energy almost tangible. Always. He replied, grinning back. Together, they began gathering tools, ready to take on the challenge. Jamie felt a sense of belonging, surrounded by a small army of supporters who believed in their dream. As they worked, laughter filled the air, mingling with the sound of clanking metal and rustling tools. Each small victory felt monumental. A loose screw here, an old wiring harness there. They celebrated every little win as if they were stepping closer to the sky. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. As time passed, Jamie noticed Mia's gaze drifting occasionally toward the twinkling blue sky. He saw shadows crossing her face, a flicker of something unspoken, fear or sorrow. It tugged at his heart. Mia, he nudged gently. You okay? She paused, fiddling with a wrench, her eyes reflecting uncertainty. Yeah, just thinking about Dad. I wish he could see this. Something deep within Jamie understood. You'll make him proud, Mia. We're building this for all of us. It's more than just an old jet, it's a connection. She nodded, a small smile creeping back to her lips, but the weight lingered. They shared a moment of silence before diving back into work. Jamie resolved to check in with her more, sensing that their unspoken bond made them stronger. As the sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows over their progress, Mr. Dawson clapped his hands to gather attention. Let us take a break. And why don't we set up a little celebration to toast the beginning of our journey? Excitement buzzed through the air. They gathered around, refreshing drinks in hand, laughter echoing against the metal of the jet. Everyone shared stories, those that inspired, those that reminded them of the possibilities that lay ahead. Jamie felt a swell of joy as he watched Mia laugh, her earlier sorrow melting in the warmth of the gathering. The moment felt electric, as if the jet itself were alive, absorbing the dreams and hopes being shared around it. Jamie found himself standing beside Mia, their shoulders almost touching. Here's to us, he said, raising his cup. To building dreams. Mia shouted, her eyes shining bright, drawing everyone's laughter into her spark. Just when everyone seemed caught in a bubble of happiness, the quiet hum of an engine rumbled in the background. The familiar sound of a plane echoed overhead again, louder this time. Everyone's gaze went skyward. Who was flying? Was somebody watching them? Jamie's heart raced. The excitement of the moment turned to anxiety. What if someone didn't want to see them succeed? Could they really follow through with their dream? As shadows flickered in the fading light, Jamie knew the journey was only just beginning. Each question hung heavy in the air, teasing with the uncertainties that lay before them. Would they take flight or crash before they soared? The sunlight began to fade, casting long shadows that danced around the hangar. Jamie felt a knot form in his stomach as the plane's engine noise faded into the distance. The moment should have been celebratory, yet an underlying tension whispered doubt into his mind. Was someone out there looking down on them, wondering why they dared to dream? Let us get back to it, Mia exclaimed, breaking the spell of unease. Her voice was bright, lifting the spirits around them like a warm breeze. As they returned to their tasks, Jamie focused on the jet, trying to push the worries aside. But the tightness remained, gnawing at him. Hey, Jamie, Mia called, interrupting his thoughts. She was holding up a rusty panel, the surface marked with age and neglect. Think we can salvage this? It's gonna need a lot of work. Definitely, he said, moving closer. With a little elbow grease, we can make this shine again. As they worked, Jamie couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. It felt both thrilling and terrifying, like a swarm of bees buzzing just out of sight. He glanced around but saw only familiar faces, all focused on the task at hand. Mr. Dawson appeared deep in conversation, animatedly gesturing toward diagrams, while others examined the jet's complex systems. Why don't we take a minute? Jamie suggested, wiping sweat from his brow. Let us regroup and share what we've done so far. Mia nodded, her eyes sparkling as she always seemed to find the light amidst the work. Good idea. A little reflection might clear our heads. They assembled in a circle, everyone sharing highlights of their efforts. The mood lightened as stories unfolded, laughter mingling with the sounds of metal and machines. Jamie felt the warmth of camaraderie wrap around him, igniting his hope. But then, a shadow drifted across the group. Jamie turned to see a tall figure standing at the edge of the hangar. It was a woman, dressed in a sharp business suit, her presence commanding attention. She had an air of authority, her gaze rested on the jet with an intensity Jamie couldn't ignore. Mom. He whispered, glancing at her before turning back to the newcomer. Can I help you? Mia called out, squaring her shoulders as she stepped forward. The woman smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I'm here to see what all the fuss is about. Mr. Dawson approached cautiously. We're restoring this old jet, trying to breathe new life into it. The community's come together. I know what this jet is, she interrupted, her tone suddenly sharp. I'm the CEO of the company that owns it. I thought it was abandoned. Whispers spread among the group. Jamie's heart raced, doubt creeping in again. What do you mean? He managed to say, a slight tremor in his voice. The woman took a step closer. It's a liability. I wouldn't want you to get hurt or worse. Jamie's pulse quickened. Wait, we're careful. We're ambitious, she interrupted. But ambition without experience can lead to disaster. Before Jamie could articulate his thoughts, he noticed Mia staring at the woman, open-mouthed, concern etched across her features. The earlier sense of purpose began to collapse under the weight of the CEO's chilly presence. Wait, do you not believe in us? We're just trying to do your best. Yes, I see that, she replied, backing away slightly. But the truth always has a way of crashing down. Her words struck like a fist, echoing in Jamie's mind. They weren't just restoring a jet, they were risking their hopes. The room felt heavy. Shadows lengthened further, and Jamie felt trapped beneath the weight of her words. Mia stepped closer to Jamie, her expression resolute. "We're going to show you we can make this happen. We won't let you down." As the hangar grew quiet, Jamie felt a surge of defiance. They had a vision. They had each other. But now there was a new challenge looming. Could they convince her that they were worthy of this dream? As the crowd began to murmur amongst themselves, Jamie's heart thudded in his chest. Could they rise to the challenge and prove their dream was alive, or would it all come crumbling down before they ever had the chance to take flight? The air grew thick with tension, and Jamie could feel the air being sucked out of the hangar. The CEO's gaze was unwavering, her eyes like steel. Jamie's heart raced. They had worked so hard to revive not just the jet, but their dreams and ambitions. "First, let me say," she began, pulling the weight of the room with her voice, "I don't want anyone to get hurt. This jet is more than just old metal, it's a piece of a bigger picture. One that involves safety, liability, and potential," interrupted Mia, her voice steady despite the tremor in the atmosphere. "We believe in this. We believe in each other. We're ready for the responsibility." Jamie admired her courage, but doubt still clouded his mind. He felt small in front of this figure who held such authority. The CEO's expression softened for just a moment. Maybe she saw something in Mia's face that mirrored the desire within them all, a dream just waiting to take flight. "You think working on an old plane will prepare you for the real world?" the woman asked, one eyebrow arched as she scrutinized their youthful enthusiasm. "Dreaming won't keep you safe when something goes wrong. This isn't just about you wanting to build something beautiful." "But it is about that," Jamie countered, surprising himself with the strength in his voice. "We're learning teamwork, problem-solving, and the value of hard work. Isn't that what you did when you started out?" A moment of silence stretched, and Jamie held his breath, wishing he could see inside her world. Did she have dreams once? Had ambition lit her path, only to be dulled by the weight of responsibility? The murmurs in the group surged, rising like a tide. Jamie could see the fire igniting in his friends. They were so much more than this woman believed. "It's not just a jet," Jamie added, feeling emboldened. "It's a part of our lives now. A piece of our future we can build together." The CEO looked taken aback. She hadn't expected their responses. Jamie could see a flicker of something, maybe uncertainty. Or perhaps a hint of nostalgia for the dreams she once had herself. Her glance shifted to the jet, and for an instant, Jamie thought he saw a glimpse of admiration. "Fine," she relented, crossing her arms. "Show me what you can do. Show me why this rusty machine matters to you." Mia's eyes lit up, and Jamie felt a surge of energy coursing through him. They had their chance. "We can do this," he whispered to her, a flicker of excitement reigniting his resolve. The team sprang into action, a rush of activity erupting as they gathered tools, drawing on their collective strength and enthusiasm. Step by step, they would bring the jet back to life. As they worked, they could feel the change in the air, hope mixing with the smell of grease and fuel, camaraderie ringing in laughter among friends. Hours passed, and soon the sun began to dip lower in the sky, painting everything in shades of orange and pink. Jamie paused, wiping sweat from his brow, and his eyes caught the woman surveying them with a thoughtful expression. Maybe I underestimated you," she said, a hint of respect breaking through her authoritative demeanor. "But remember, this isn't just about restoring a plane. It's about learning to fly." Jamie felt a thrill jump in his chest. "We will fly. Together." But as the shadows stretched long, creeping toward the hangar doors, he couldn't shake the feeling that more was at stake than just a worn-out jet. Would they truly reach the heights they dreamed of, or would unseen storms try to knock them off course? As they all worked side by side, Jamie glanced at the woman again. Had she already begun to believe in them? And what would happen when they actually took to the skies? Would they fall, or would they soar? The question lingered, heavy and unresolved, as they pressed on. Would they have the wings to fly above all doubts, or were they destined to be grounded forever? The sun dipped lower, casting warm hues across the hangar, but the excitement in the air was palpable. Each team member worked diligently, the sounds of tools clanging and chatter creating a symphony of camaraderie. Jamie could feel the momentum building, a force that pushed them all forward. As he stepped back, surveying their progress, he couldn't help but smile. The once rusted machine was slowly coming back to life. Each turn of a screwdriver felt like a turn of fate, inching closer to their dreams. Mia approached him, her arms smeared with grease, but her face shone with determination. "Do you think she'll really give us a shot?" Mia asked, her voice laced with hope. "I think she's already starting to see us," Jamie replied, feeling the weight of his words. "We just need to keep proving it." The laughter from their friends echoed around them, and Jamie felt a warmth spread through his chest. There was something almost magical about the way they operated as a team. One moment, they were joking about who was the best at fixing an engine, and the next, they were deep in discussion, weighing the risks of the jet's many quirks. It felt right. But just as they were settling into their rhythm, a loud bang echoed through the hangar, causing everyone's heads to snap toward the source. The CEO stood by a set of shelves, a toolbox barely balanced in her grip, now scattered across the floor. "Sorry about that," she said, a hint of embarrassment flashing across her face. "Guess I still have to get used to this place." Their eyes met, an unexpected moment shared that dissolved some of the tension hanging in the air. "It's okay," Jamie said, stepping closer to help her gather the fallen tools. "We all have to start somewhere, right?" She chuckled softly, a more human side shining through. "I sometimes forget that," she admitted. "I've been at this for so long, it's hard to remember what it was like to be so hopeful." Her words hung in the air, almost haunting. Jamie looked at her, truly looked, and saw a woman burdened by expectations, clouds of ambition overshadowing her own dreams. Could they change her perspective, and did that mean she could also light a path for them? "Well, we're hoping to take this even further," he said, a wild thought sparking in his mind. "We want to show you that it's not just about a project. It's about family, security, and dreams. Not just what we can build with metal, but what we can make out of life together." Caught off guard, the CEO seemed to pause, considering his words. For the first time, the steel in her gaze melted just a little. "You're right," she finally said, a hint of realization dancing in her eyes. But then the moment shifted, and Jamie noticed a shadow crawling over her face. "That doesn't change the stakes, you know. This jet needs to meet certain standards. If it fails, well, you understand the implications." The air crackled again, tension rising like the sound of an engine ready to launch. Jamie glanced at Mia and the others, he could feel their resolve harden. "Together, we'll make sure it doesn't. We won't let you down." With the weight of those words settling in the air, the CEO straightened, her focus sharpening. "Then show me. Show me that you have what it takes to not just fix this jet, but to get it into the air." The challenge hung between them, a tightrope stretched across a chasm of uncertainty. Jamie felt his heart quicken at the thought of rising up to her belief, a journey resting on their shoulders now. But doubts loomed in the background. Would they really be able to meet her expectations? And what if they faltered this time? Would they be able to fly, or would the ground rush up to meet them again? As the team gathered around for the next phase of their ambitious plan, Jamie could feel the pulse of possibility. They had come too far to turn back now. The last rays of sunlight illuminated the jet, a glimmer of hope in the fading light. The next chapter of their journey was about to unfold, one filled with dreams, determination, and the uncertainty of what awaited them in the skies above. Would they find the courage to leap, or would they hesitate at the brink, clinging to safety instead? The answer lingered in the air, just out of reach. The buzz of anticipation filled the hangar, as bright rays of sunlight streamed through the open doors, welcoming the new day. Jamie awoke, the weight of yesterday's encounter with the CEO still pressing on his heart. But the warmth of morning unfurled within him, promising hope. Today would be pivotal. Stepping outside, he inhaled the fresh air, filled with possibility and the faint smell of grease that had become so familiar. Today was the day they proved that dreams can take flight. He joined Mia at the hangar, her enthusiasm radiating like sunshine. Ready? She grinned, tools in her hands, her curls bouncing as she moved. Always. Jamie replied, each word bubbling with excitement. As they gathered their group, Jamie felt the energy shift. The townsfolk who had come together to support them now seemed like a powerful army, united not just by the plane, but by shared dreams and aspirations. Mr. Dawson stepped forward. All right, team. We have a challenge ahead, and it's time to show the world what we can accomplish together. Every hammer strike echoed with determination. They were transforming the jet piece by piece. In those moments, they weren't just fixing metal, they were repairing connections, memories, and hopes. Laughter intermingled with clinks and buzzes, carrying warmth that felt almost tangible. Yet through all the joy, a sliver of anxiety tugged at Jamie's mind. What if they let the CEO down? What if they stumbled at the finish line, unable to rise above expectations? He pushed the nagging darkness aside, focusing instead on the laughter and encouragement of his friends. Hours passed, and the sun began to dip low, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink. Finally, they stood back to admire their progress. The jet, once a lifeless shell, now glimmered with a new spirit. It was a canvas brought to life, the embodiment of resilience. Just then, the CEO arrived, eyes sharp but curious. With brave hearts, they gathered in front of the jet, hoping to showcase their dedication. Jamie stepped forward, his nerves thrumming. We've put our heart and soul into this. It's not just about getting it into the air, it's about what it represents. Hope, community, and the power of dreams. The CEO examined their work, and for a brief moment, uncertainty flickered across her face. Jamie could sense it, the tug of connection to her own ambitions, a softening in the steel of her demeanor. Perhaps his words were reaching her after all. I see the hard work, she acknowledged slowly. But efforts need to be met with capability. Are you ready to take this further? The team nodded, a wave of determination washing over them. They sensed the moment this was it. We believe in this, Jamie insisted, feeling the weight of their collective hope. We believe in each other. Mia stepped forward, eyes shining with earnestness. Let us show you how far we can go together. We will lift not just this jet but the spirits of everyone who has ever dreamed. As she spoke, something flickered in the CEO's eyes. Perhaps her resolve was crumbling, piece by piece, like the rust on the jet's body. Then let us take the next step. Prepare for a test flight, she finally said, a challenge and an opportunity entwined. The crowd burst into excited chatter, and Jamie felt the energy swell. This was their shot. They had come together, united by their dreams and determination. With renewed purpose, they dove back into preparations. They knew every bolt and wire, every corner of the jet they now cherished. It felt like their own hearts beat in sync with the machine. As the sun set, painting the night sky, they stood around the aircraft, ready. Jamie felt an overwhelming wave of gratitude wash over him, gratitude for the community, the support, for Mia, and for Mr. Dawson, who had ignited a flame of ambition within him. Whatever happens, I'm proud of us, Jamie said softly, looking at Mia and their friends, who nodded in agreement. Moments later, the jet, now polished and bright, stood ready like a beacon against the night, a promise of what was to come. As the engines rumbled to life for the first time, the hum echoed through the hangar, and the excitement was palpable. Jamie stepped back, taking in the sight. This wasn't just a flight, it was a leap of faith, a moment in history. The jet's engines roared, vibrating through the ground beneath them, shaking loose fear and doubt. Jamie locked eyes with Mia, both of them knowing they were on the brink of something extraordinary. With every heartbeat resonating in synchronicity, they were ready to soar. They would take their dreams into the sky, ready to face whatever awaited them up there. Today's journey was not just about lifting off, it was about overcoming every obstacle that had ever held them back. As the plane began to taxi down the runway, Jamie raised his gaze toward the stars that began to twinkle above. The jet was no longer just a vessel, it was a testament that dreams, when coupled with hard work and belief, could indeed take flight. But the question remained: would they soar higher than they ever imagined, or would the winds push them down? As the plane took off, a mixture of anxiety and thrill coursed through Jamie's veins. He held on to the hope as tightly as the joy of realization filled the air, believing wholeheartedly that they were destined to touch the sky. Against all odds, they would rise together. And now, dear friends, this is your moment. You need to subscribe now to the channel to catch the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. It matters more than you know. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. It's time to connect with this awesome community. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation and believe in their dreams. Act now, and let us soar higher together.